Good afternoon, traders and investors. Will back here with another one, coming to you with a Monday market recap. Hope all of you had a very nice day of trading today. And of course, as you can probably tell, not the same setup, guys. Currently on a business trip in New York, so the audio is not the same, the video is not the same as well. I apologize for that. I will be back to my full home setup in terms of tomorrow's video after the close, so please bear with me and be kind in this case of an exception. Moving forward to travel, I'll get a better microphone, of course, and we'll do the laptop setup as well. But for now, wanted to recap the events of the day because there was some juicy ones and we did have some very nice dips in the market. Now, in terms of today's price action, guys, this was to be expected. Last week and the weeks prior were very good weeks in the market. The SPY was pretty much up every single day, almost for the last 2 weeks. So a bit of a technical pullback was to be expected. And I did kind of guide for that in yesterday's top 5 options video. So in today's video, guys, we're going to take a look at a few things together, of course. Number one, no earnings for today. Got to keep this video a little bit shorter, but Oracle did have their earnings. We will cover the Oracle earnings tomorrow, I promise, after the close. We'll cover Oracle and possibly one or two more that we might find. And then, of course, the salient earnings of the week, of course, are going to be later. Adobe on the Wednesday session. And Thursday, we have Broadcom and Costco. Broadcom, got to be careful with this one because it will impact the semiconductor trade as a whole, which as of lately, as you well know, has been fairly weak. But in terms of today, guys, no major news events. This was really just a technical pullback. So we're going to take a look at exactly that. The technical analysis in terms of the SPY, the QQQ, our major market indexes, see how they're standing up, whether it's a good opportunity to start buying the dip or possibly wait for a little bit more downside. Thereafter, we're going to take a look at our big tech names as well. Same thing. Are they in a good position for a dip or do we need to be a little bit more patient? And thereafter, do a quick little rundown of my portfolio for any new trades made today and which positions I am keeping into the rest of the week. A big move down on crypto as well, so we will definitely tackle that too. So without further ado, guys, let's jump right into the markets right now, shall we? So in terms of the SPY down about 0.51%, the QQQ is down about 0.78%. And when we take a look at the heat map, guys, as you can see, not a very good day in the markets, right? Pretty much a lot more red than we had green, that's for sure. So in terms of the daily moves, we did have a few names positive on the indexes, such as Microsoft, Apple, and Google down here. But really today was a broad day of market pullback. And I'll remind you, there's really not that much in the way of, macroeconomic data this week. Only the CPI on the Wednesday, and the expectation is for CPI to still be bumpy, but trending down to the 2%. However, be a little bit cautious because if this number comes in above the expectation, I'll remind you, the expectation is for 2.7, which is a little bit more, a little bit higher rather than the month prior, which came in at 2.6. If this comes in closer to a 2.8, 2.9, you may get a little bit of market jitters, especially with the Trump administration coming in with the tariffs. And we know that's been kind of front and center in people's minds. Will the tariffs lead to a resurgence of inflation? So if this report comes in less good than expected, expect the markets as well to continue on to their declines. Now, normally the month of December is a fairly good month for the markets, but of course we have to be very careful of any macroeconomic events that can really halt the momentum to the upside as for now. So in terms of the heat map, guys, I'll remind you, very negative day in the markets. Nothing really was spared. Semiconductors down again, technology stocks down again too. Financials continue on to their decline, and we'll take a look at those daily downtrends in a bit. Healthcare, actually some outperformance in healthcare, not too bad, and even the bottom half of the market. So today, guys, a lot more names were definitely green than red, that is for sure. And you can see that even best when expressed in terms of the group performance. Basic materials, real estate, cyclicals, energy, and healthcare to the upside, but the larger sectors here all to the downside. Defensives, technologies, utilities, financials, communication services, Google and Meta, right? Pretty much coming to the downside today. There was a little bit of outperformance depending on what you were invested in, but having to do more with the value side of the market, more so than big tech gains as a whole. So getting into the technicals, guys, well, as we can see, not much has changed even after this one day of red. This is what I was talking about, putting in higher highs almost every single day for the last 2 weeks. The weekly chart looked like this, and the monthly chart also looks quite good. I was telling you guys, pay special attention to the slight resistance we have above us right now, the trend line, which is currently sitting about 613, 614. We did not clip into that just yet, fell a little bit short, but as we can tell, guys, the expectation is still only for a daily higher low. One day of red is not going to be enough to undo this daily uptrend. As a matter of fact, the bulls still retain their complete full control of these markets. Let me just move this over. It's going to bother me. They still retain their complete control of the market. So right now we're expecting anything anything above pretty much 585 to be acting as just a simple daily higher low for possible further trend continuation. So we will see what happens. But I told you guys, when you want to know the upswing is finished, pay special attention to a major loss of your short-term moving averages coupled with an hourly downtrend. And that's exactly what we had over the course of the day. So in my opinion, daily consolidation is underway, and daily consolidation, as a quick reminder, can last more than one single day of trading. I would not be surprised if tomorrow ends up red as well. And if Wednesday, the CPI is less favorable than expected, that would be the multi-day decline that we're possibly looking for here in terms of daily consolidation. On the weekly though, guys, the weekly is still looking very healthy. The bulls have tons of space to work with here. Anything above 584, still going to just be looking for that weekly higher low. So even if this lasts for about a week and a half, setting into the daily downtrends, just understand who's in control of the higher time frames here, and it is still your long-term bulls. In terms of the QQQs, not looking too bad, 0.78% to the downside, very mixed market in the Qs today. Daily uptrend still remains very solid though, looking for a higher low at the current time. So at this point, anything above 502.26 is looking for that daily higher low, and I've mapped out the short-term support area on the chart. 513 down to roughly 507 should do it in terms of the short-term pullback area that the bulls are likely to find a little bit of support coming down into this market. So the daily is really not looking too bad at all. In terms of the weekly as well, I mean, the bulls have a tremendous amount of space here, guys. At this point, anything above 495, just gonna be looking for as well a weekly higher low for possible further continuation, right? It's all in the monthly charts as well, guys. Very nice monthly uptrends. The bulls are in full control right now, but you gotta be a little bit cautious when the markets rally really hard into the all-time highs. And you guys know it better than me, right? Or as well as me around now at this point. In the past few weeks, it has been pure euphoria. Names that have done almost nothing over the last 2-3 years have all rallied 40, 50, 60, 80, 100%. Palantir hitting levels that fundamentally don't even make sense anymore. Tesla going on a massive rally as well. Everybody playing the same stocks, and then you guys know what happens. Without any news whatsoever, the market makers trap and then send us to the downside and send everybody into a panic because everybody forgets what an actual red day looks like. So be very careful in these markets right now. Do not chase the tops. Moving on to XLF right now. Well, XLF actually fulfilling the prophecy of the daily downtrend that we were kind of predicting over the course of the last week. Now, daily downtrend is not that bad. The bulls still have a lot of space, but you have to zoom out to gauge that space, and we use the weekly time frame for this chart. They're still in full weekly time frame control of this chart right now, and at this point, any pullback above 46, just gonna be looking for a weekly higher low, guys. So much space before losing this weekly uptrend. And we have Mr. 12 EMA sitting right down here at about 48.63. This is going to be the likely area of a first touch. And if you pull down a little bit more, well, the prior resistance, which is now support, coming in about 47, 47.50-ish. So not looking too bad, but financials definitely were a pain point in the market. And it definitely makes sense, right? You had so many banks running very hot since the day of the election. JP Morgan was up tremendously. Bank of America was up tremendously. Wells Fargo was up tremendously. You can even take a look at some of the investment banks. Goldman Sachs, or that was Morgan Stanley rather. Here's Goldman Sachs. Same concept, right? They are due for a little bit of a pullback, and that's exactly the pullback that we're getting right now. So financials, not yet ready for me to play them, but a few more days, maybe in about a week and a half more of pullback, we could find some trades going for those weekly higher lows. Moving into XLV Healthcare right now. So healthcare trying to do its best to kind of uphold the markets. I tell you guys to always watch the rotation, not only the rotation between the major sectors, but also within a sector as well, you can have some rotation. As a whole, healthcare not looking too bad. The context, once again, was we are trying to reverse this weekly downtrend. Massive weekly downtrend on XLV right now. And now we have the bulls putting in a very nice sizable bounce. I was telling you guys, when you want to gauge the size of the bounce, always throw the fibs on it, and you'll have a very good idea of where we stand. So as we know right now, the bounce size was roughly just about a 70% retracement size, which gives the bulls a very good chance of possibly recovering into a daily uptrend. We will see. Can they start turning it around? Well, they started to turn around the lower time frames, the hourly here. If they can continue this hourly uptrend into the rest of the week, that is going to be the bulls' attempt to try and reset into a nice daily uptrend, and also try and get the weekly uptrend back at the same time, something they have not had since the late period in August. So not looking too bad on healthcare, but still the bulls with a lot of work to do. Moving on to semiconductors right now. Let me just check that the stream is working, and it is perfect. So SMH not looking too bad today, despite NVIDIA and some of the major players being down. We are just kind of looking for a daily higher low. We know that the short-term context was we are trapped between two levels right now, guys. Trapped between overhead resistance of 260 down to 250 and trapped below or above overheads, below support rather, 232 down to about 220. So really a tale of being trapped between two levels. In terms of the short-term price action though, daily downtrend was clearly evident by the bears. Now we have a bit of a daily upswing, which can possibly lead into a daily uptrend. However, the bulls need to get their butts in gear because this area right here is the area that they will be looking to play defense on. If you take back too much of this move, guys, we're probably just going to head right back down to those lows at support. So it's pretty much go time for the bulls here. For the next 2 days of action, they need to get their act together and start challenging the overhead resistance level, which has been a very challenging area since the month of August. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, AVGO on earnings can heavily impact the direction of this chart and the direction of the industry as a whole in the short term.Moving on to the Russell right now. So the Russell down about 0.5%, but as I've always said, the Russell is a byproduct of many different industries, right? The Russell is basically the S&P 500 of small caps. They have everything in there. They have financials, they have healthcare, they have industrials, which are your 3 largest weights in the sector. And when you have a day that kind of looks like today, where once again, we go back to the heat map right here, once again, where you have a bunch of names, right? Financials were down. Healthcare was okay, but industrials were down again, and a lot of technology stocks were down as well. Obviously, the Russell is going to have a very tough time with that. That being said, we are still looking for a daily higher low for possible further trend continuation at this point in time. Even though the markets have been fairly jittery in the past few days, the Russell really has not given back too much off the highs. Still a lot of space to be working with for your bulls here. Anything above 226, looking for the daily higher low. And of course, that massive level of support comes into play down here, 232 down to about 226. So still a lot of space to work with here on the weekly time frames. We will see if the bulls need to gather a little bit more momentum down here before possibly rising. And this is a very important level, guys. This is your prior resistance from 2020 and 2021. So it's going to be tough for the bears to really smash through this, especially given the very strong monthly candle close that happened in November, which kind of just basically broke through this level as a whole. So it's going to be very tough for the bears to get through that. But this early December period, guys, we could see a little bit of volatility in the markets. And I do think the month will have a strong close, but the first 2 weeks may be a little bit soft in terms of price action. Moving on to the Dow Jones right now. So the Dow Jones, our last index that we tend to look at, still just looking for a daily higher low for possible further trend continuation. And we know the context is a beautiful, beautiful daily uptrend right now. We also know the longer term context, the weekly, is a clear and gorgeous uptrend as well. That being said, short-term support area is we're coming down into it, 44.3 down to about 44,000. And in the event the bears capitalize on this move down, consolidate into a daily downtrend, you guys need to look one time frame higher at the weekly, anything above 43K. Still just looking for a very healthy weekly higher low for further trend continuation. The Dow Jones can do this a few times, some major pullbacks, and then we just continue on with this daily uptrend. I would not be too nervous unless we really start losing 43.4 in a big way and our higher low 43K in a big way. Other than that, the chart's not looking too bad at all. So that's pretty much it for our sector analysis rundown. I'll cover yields tomorrow and everything else more in depth tomorrow when I have my full setup. In terms of Bitcoin though, take a look at this list. Look at the crypto list on my right, guys. Everything getting absolutely destroyed, and this is all the altcoins, and this is only with a Bitcoin move down of about under 4%. Why does this happen in altcoins? Then we're going to get into Bitcoin, guys. This is what you call a market maker liquidation event. A lot of people love to use leverage in their trades, especially for crypto, and they do a little bit too much, 5x leverage, 10x leverage, 20x leverage, and they tend to trail the market really, really close. Now, I will remind you, how do the market makers make the markets in these coins? Well, they own a very large supply of all these coins. So it stands to argue they can move the price in a big fashion in the direction that they choose. If they see there's a lot of liquidation points of people on leverage, they will go stop hunting. They will go fishing for all your orders, take your money, liquidate your position, and then run the other way. This is a classic case of a liquidity grab. Nothing more, nothing less. It is a classic liquidity grab. And if you've been in crypto for long enough, you know that these happen very, very regularly, especially after moves, unidirectional moves. On a lot of these altcoins have been going straight up for almost the past 2 weeks in a row. Whether it's a utility coin, whether it's a meme coin, everything has been going just straight up in a straight line. People trail higher with leverage. And there you go. A lot of people getting absolutely liquidated today. So once again, goes to say, just be very careful if you're trading in the crypto markets. In terms of how Bitcoin is looking fine, guys. Still a very cool and casual daily uptrend. Yes, we try to go a little bit stop hunting down here, but the candle is not closing up there. The candle is still closing in the formation of a nice daily uptrend, looking for the higher lows. I get a little bit nervous if they close a big red candle below 93K, because then we can probably anticipate a retest of this region right down here, 91 to about 88K. In terms of the weekly as well, the weekly is not looking bad at all. Just consolidation for about 3 weeks in a row after breaking through 100K, sideways, slightly downside bias consolidation. As of right now, no major red flags on crypto, guys. Just be very careful. Bitcoin is the guide for all of these cryptocurrencies that come under it, including Ethereum as well. Ethereum with a very big pullback today. As you can see, they were in a very nice daily uptrend, and look, they flushed the lows, still not closing down below there. So I'll give it to the bulls in the fact that they are protecting this daily uptrend. But with a big candle like that, a few more days, guys, and you open up the door for lower highs, lower lows, and possibly into weekly consolidation, something that we have not had on these charts in many weeks. Ever since the election, pretty much 5, 6, 7 weeks of straight upside, you are going to get a weekly pullback level. So just be very careful when trading crypto, especially if you're doing it on leverage. That goes for every single altcoin in this list. Nothing happened with any of these coins, guys. It is a clear liquidation event by the market makers. You can call it market manipulation, but that is crypto, guys. Welcome to the game. Moving on to Apple right now. Let me just take a quick glance on how long the video is because I don't want to do too much. Apple have a very cool 1.61%, not even caring that the markets were red today. Apple looking very strong here today, guys, right? Even as a matter of fact, they never really lost the hourly uptrend at all in this sequence over the last couple of days. So as a matter of fact, this is not your daily high or low. We never lost the short-term time frames. Your daily high or low arguably is still all the way down here at 223. Very nice daily uptrend. This is one single very large move looking very good. Now, the trade setup on Apple is possibly for a breakout retest. If the markets continue sliding over the course of the week, you may find a retest level down here in roughly the 236, 235, which is your prior resistance, which is now current support for the markets. Very nice breakout retest trade by Apple, looking quite good. In terms of the weekly as well, very beautiful and casual weekly uptrend in formation right now. So keep an eye if you do get that retest of the prior all-time highs, 235 down to about 230. Could be a decent little swing trade entry opportunity on Apple because the bulls are in full control of the higher time frames. In terms of the long-term investment, guys, I mean, it's really up to you, but Apple is trading a slightly rich valuation right now. The valuation at 246 should be about a 3.5 peg. That's very rich for a company that's only growing revenue by about 5% per year. Apple is still a very strong company. I'm not selling any of my long-term shares. However, we have to understand that this may not be the best deal in the market right now. So I'm not adding to any of my long-term shares at all. Apple is currently a hold for me. For any trades, we'll be looking for the breakout, retest area, and then possibly position for the run. Moving into AMD right now, down about 5.5%, guys. And unfortunately, well, AMD once again being the recipient. You can see down here in the right-hand corner, AMD is identified as one of the US chip-making companies that may be impacted by China's warning to its firms regarding the safety of purchasing US chips. So China has been cracking down on a few companies lately. More specifically, AMD and Intel are always the face of those headlines. Very unfortunate, coupled with the Amazon headline as of last Friday, which was saying pretty much that they were seeing a lack of demand for AMD products, which leads us to believe, are people only ordering the AMD data center chips when they're out of NVIDIA stock, right? Because we know AMD is supposed to be one of the future power players in this market, and that is what the fundamentals are forecasted for. However, have to be a little bit timid and cautious with the data that we've been seeing recently in terms of the volume of orders. Even Amazon, who arguably Amazon is the largest player in the space, right? They have the most in terms of cloud center market share, and they have the biggest installations as of right now. The price targets are still largely above the stock price, and the EPS should be expanding into 2025, and the revenue as well should be expanding into 2025 as well. But there's kind of a sour sentiment around the stock right now, and it really can't be blamed. And this is the case around many different semiconductor stocks in the market right now. LRCX, very strong company, trapped near the lows. ASML, very strong company, trapped near the lows. Micron, very strong company, trapped pretty much essentially near the lows or stuck in a range. There's a lot of companies out there. If you are not TSM, NVIDIA, or AVGO, unfortunately, you are not in a weekly and monthly uptrend right now. Most of all that industry has lost either the monthlies or the weeklies, which is kind of rough if you're going for any swing trades on a long basis, right? We need to see confirmation by the bulls. The bulls had a chance here to set up for a daily uptrend shift, and I was saying I'm not going to enter more positions on AMD until I see a daily uptrend. Why? Because we're fighting an uphill battle right now, guys. The monthly is in a clear monthly downtrend. As you can see, it is clear as day on the chart. Monthly downtrend. The weekly as well is in, they have now lost all the momentum, not a weekly downtrend just yet, but loss of all momentum and no daily uptrend to be seen. So you can have wishful thinking trading and hope trading, which is I hope that this is the bottom, but without a daily bull trend confirmation bouncing out of support, you're kind of only working with half the information. So be quite cautious with this one. Now we are coming down into the lower area of the support range, which ends at about 125. And below that, unfortunately, the next zone of support comes all the way at about 110 with this 200 weekly EMA. 114 down to about 110 is the next area. So I'm not opposed to playing this stock, guys, but if you're kind of on the fence, do not force yourself into conviction just because NVIDIA is looking quote unquote cheap right now. If we want to play this stock and I want to play it too, I need to be getting a very decent price. And for me, that is writing short puts between the 120 and possibly even 115 area at this point. I'm not going to be writing puts on AMD leading into AVGO earnings, because if AVGO misses the mark and AMD's market sentiment has been fairly lackluster recently, what do you think is going to happen? They will probably be one of the names that drops the most if semiconductors are weak on the Thursday and Friday session. So please keep that in mind for AMD. As of right now, the bulls just lacking control, need to start everything from scratch. First, you need to get the daily bounce, then you need to secure the daily uptrend. So as of right now, no trade for me on AMD, although it is looking at an attractive price for a longer term trade, not so much in the short term. Moving on to Amazon right now. Amazon down about 0.41% today. I mean, not a bad showing by Amazon. Amazon was actually green during the day, clipping into the 229, 230, but this could be viewed as a profit-taking location. Take a look, guys. The RSI is now currently at about 73, 74, so it's not too overbought, but keep in mind, I mean, we've had, what, 10 days of just pure rally mode on Amazon right now? Keep in mind, the context was a daily downtrend, big one-time engulfing move. This is not a daily uptrend. We're looking for the daily uptrend, and for that, they need to set the higher lows for possible further trend continuation. So at worst, possibly Amazon can retest the 214 down to about 210 region. These guys right there, sorry for my, my kind of crooked little circle. Let me try to do a better one. There you go. That's slightly a better one. This area right there is what we're going to be looking for. 215 down to 210. Retest of the 10, retest of the 12 EMA as well. Not looking too bad. Who's in control of the long-term charts here, guys? Well, obviously it is your longer form bulls, right? Very beautiful weekly uptrend. We know Amazon's fundamentals are fantastic, so a little bit of daily and weekly consolidation never truly hurt anybody. The PEG ratio at 220 is about a 1.65. Not too bad, guys. The company is still, in my opinion, fairly valued around 220. Moving on to Google right now. So Google bucking the trend with Apple. Google ending green on the day. So up 0.35% during the day and up another 0.58% in the after hours. Not looking too bad at all. That being said, we are in the context of a very nice daily uptrend right now. And as of right now, any form of pullback, just going to be looking for a daily higher low for possible further trend continuation. It's looking very good. They've almost engulfed the most recent week of a weekly selling leg, right? So not looking too bad even on the higher time frames. Weekly is looking good. A little bit of a higher low. Encountering some resistance right now though. So this is between 180 down to about 175. If we get get rejected from here, we may just kind of devolve into some form of a tightening range. Kind of same thing, trapped between 165 and roughly about 175. And if we do come back down here, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for some Google longs and also playing some short puts down there. So it's not looking too bad on Google, but what you really want to see, if you really want to see the bulls come alive, you need to see a weekly candle close above 181. We have not had a solid weekly candle close above 181 in how long, guys? Since the month of June. Not looking too bad. This is still one of the cheapest stocks in the entire market right now. We did the valuation at 165. It was a 1.21 peg. That is very, very, very cheap for a company that's growing like Google. We know why it's down. The Department of Justice headlines and investigations, of course, but very cheap stock to say the least. So I will be shopping for more Google in the event we test the lower end of this area down there. Moving on to Meta right now, Meta down about 1.64%. So we know that also Meta, same thing, right? Huge monster rally by Meta into a little bit of consolidation. And this could be freeing up another similar trade to the one we just saw on Apple, which is of course one of my favorite setups. It is the trend continuation trade, which I like to call the breakout retest because it does what it says. It breaks out of a previous all-time high level and then possibly retests the all-time high level, which was resistance, now as support. And once again, this level right there is about, let's call it 600 flat, down to about 585. If we get a retest down into that area, could be looking quite good for a long setup. Breakout, retest, enter the trade, and then possibly go for the long continuation over the next few weeks, next few months as well. Could be a decent entry opportunity in the event we are missing out on a little bit of Meta. Meta on the longer term timeframes is looking very, very, very solid here, guys. Beautiful weekly engulfing move. Any pullback, excuse me. Looking for the weekly higher low for possible further trend continuation. So everything looking very good, but I will be very patient and cautious, waiting for Meta and just using the SPY and the QQQ as my guide time frames for their respective pullbacks as well. If that leads into a Meta pullback too, well, I will be going shopping for a little bit of Meta. Microsoft, 0.55% to the upside. So Microsoft, after being one of the poster childs of being left behind in the rally, has now finally started to come alive when the market has needed them the most, right? You notice that Microsoft and Apple have very, very large weights in this market. When everything else is struggling, the two kind of very slow, very mature companies kind of come alive, at least today, and kind of backstop the market. At least they did today, right? So Microsoft, very nice context right now. Daily uptrend is clear as day. We are clipping into overbought conditions ever so slightly. I don't know if my head's in the way because I only have one screen, but down here you can see, right? 70 clipping into the higher end of the RSI. Not looking too bad though. The benefit of Microsoft right now is the fact that we closed a weekly candle above this big, big, big area of previous resistance that's been there for a majority of the year so far. Now that we have closed a weekly candle above with a weekly uptrend, it stands to argue the bulls are in control. We're also above the weekly short-term moving averages, which is that tiny little circle right there. Let me make it a little bit bigger. These guys right here, the 12 and the 26 on the weekly. So stands to argue that any pullback, once again, will be for one of my favorite trade setups, which is of course the breakout retest, of course, right? So moving on, now we have the breakout, possible retest. I'd be looking for maybe a retest of the 434 down all the way about 430, joining about these moving averages around here. That could be possibly the extent of the drawdown, and it would be a very nice retest of this area measured by a weekly downswing as well before possible further share appreciation. As I said, into the next few weeks, next few months as well. I think Microsoft is looking pretty solid for a little bit of monthly trend expansion, maybe through January and February as well, as we kind of seek to attack the previous all-time highs. Microsoft is indeed still trailing the S&P for the year. Rare for them. Usually they are ahead, only about not only 19.3% year to date. Moving on to Netflix right now. Netflix down about 2.25, but this is kind of to be expected as well. And I would not be surprised if there's possibly even more downside on the road for on the horizon for Netflix too. We know the context is this very smooth, very nice daily uptrend, right? Picture perfect chart for Netflix. So one day is not enough to erase the bull's control, but just understand the context of this chart. We have been overbought on the daily for a bit of time. If the bulls give back too much of this move and give back the daily 12 EMA, which is this yellow line right here, you could be faced with the bears looking to capitalize on that move, set the lower high into lower low, daily downtrend flush. And at that point, what are we looking for here, guys? you just be looking for a weekly higher low. Anything above 750, so much space for the bulls, just looking for a weekly higher low for possible further trend continuation. So in the event we start to unravel here in the markets and Netflix has a few bad weeks in a row to end the year, I'd be looking for it to kind of join up with the 12 EMA, which at that point in time might be sitting around the 850. That could be a decent area where we can maybe reevaluate this one for a little bit of a swing trade. But as of right now, guys, very tough for me to buy when the weekly RSI has been above 70, above 75 for at least the last 4 weeks of trade. Moving into NVIDIA right now. So NVIDIA also doing a whole lot of nothing today, right? Down about 2.55. Still trapped is NVIDIA right now. Cannot break the all-time highs. NVIDIA has been trapped in this all-time high range for the last 3 months in a row. Now, the context, of course, was this daily downtrend. The bulls had a very nice bounce, a very nice bounce in terms of the fibs, right? You put the fibs on this, you can see, guys, this was almost a 70% bounce. So it gave the bulls a very generous opportunity to kind of reset into a possible daily uptrend. So far, that possibility is not quite erased just yet, but once again, the expectation is, in the context of a downtrend, always for lower high into lower low. It's up to the bulls to prove to us that they want to recapture the daily uptrend from here, reacting nicely from the 50-day EMA right now, have not yet broken down and crossed it, but give me 1 or 2 more red days like this and take back all of this move, and I think you guys know what's going to happen probably, right? The likely expectation becomes a retest of the lows or maybe even lower. Perfectly fine with me because I will be sitting with orders down here around the 130 to about 125, just going to be looking for a weekly retest of the previous all-time highs. Again, 130 to 125. That's going to be the next area that I will approach NVIDIA for a little bit of shopping. Moving on to Tesla right now. So Tesla, very volatile day for Tesla. What seemed to be a generous market open, a very glorious market open as a matter of fact. They were up at 1.5%, clipping into the 405. They kind of had a very volatile session thereafter, coming down at 10 and now trying to recapture, right? So this is what I mean. You have a lot of stocks that have ran an absolute ton in the last week of trading. So a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of rotation between the tech names was to kind of be expected. That being said, we are encountering resistance right now, which is currently between 385 and roughly about 410. We have not gotten through that resistance just yet. So in the event the bulls get too tired right now and cannot get the job done, gonna be looking for a daily higher low. At this point in time, anything above 326, gonna be looking for a daily higher low for possible further trend continuation. And where could we maybe come back down into? Well, the same area that we were struggling with to the upside before. This will now become, our short-term support area. And more specifically, that area is about 360, right? This whole 365 down to 355, 10-point little pocket right there could be an interesting location to, I gotta stop doing that, my bad. It could be an interesting location to kind of play the bounce trade on Tesla for possible a second attempt at breaking the all-time high range of resistance. We know who's in control here. It is definitely the bulls, but pay special attention, right? We are clipping into slightly overbought weekly RSI right now. So that's why I say, in the event the bulls pull back from this area, guys, and it lasts more than just a few days, let's say they pull in the daily downtrend here for about a week and a half, what are we looking for really? Just looking for a weekly higher low at this point in time, right? Very healthy chart, clear and smooth weekly uptrend at this point, looking for a higher low. At this point, guys, since they never lost the daily uptrend at all, at this point in time, anything above, look, 240, just gonna be looking for a weekly higher low for possible further trend continuation. So if we revisit this area, guys, I would be maybe interested in writing some short puts down below here about 330-ish, 320-ish, as low as I can get while giving myself a good margin of safety. And now lastly, we have to cover Palantir, of course. So Palantir down about 5% on the day. Not looking too bad. However, just keep in mind, right? The stock popped 6% in the pre-market. Why? Because Elon Musk reshared a video of Alex Karp, essentially. That's how very basic the alpha was this morning. They popped up 6 and then top to bottom, look at this move, right? 14% top to bottom. So when it gets extremely volatile at the tops here, guys, it lets you know that there's going to be a very big battle ongoing at the highs to protect these highs, and put in a few more big red days like this, guys. A lot of people are going to say the story is over. You're going to see a lot of take profits, especially possibly into the end of the year. And that is when the stock may be seeing a little bit more aggressive declines than people have been anticipating. It's been overbought on the weekly for a long time. It's been overbought on the daily. It's been overbought on the weekly for a very long time as well. As a matter of fact, since the election day, I mean, even before that, right? It never got back to normalization mode. This one has been overbought on the weekly since September, guys. That is a very long time. So in the event the bears capitalize on this, keep in mind, we are still in a very very healthy. I got to stop doing that. My bad. We are still in a very, it's because I hit the key below the delete key. Very nice daily uptrend right now, looking for a daily high or low and tons of space. Anything above 59 is going to be looking for a daily high or low. However, take back too much of this move, you open the door for lower high into lower low, which would be our first form of weekly consolidation in a very long time. Anything above 40.65, looking for that weekly higher low for further trend continuation. Myself personally, I cannot touch this one. It's ran an absolute ton. I will not be buying today's dip, but give me a very nice end of deal special, little Christmas special, little January special, anything maybe below 60, and I can write some short puts into the 50s, and everybody's panicking because Palantir's down. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying if it does happen, I will be there to backstop the markets, guys. I will buy your bags, not all of them, but I'll put in some decent work for the chart right there. Just kidding, of course. I wish I could move markets. There's no way that I actually can. So that's pretty much everything that I had on the deck for today, guys. Of course, I can't go through many more stocks. This video is going to take some time to upload, and I have to run to a dinner meeting right now, essentially. But one of the last things I wanted to look at, you guys, is the plays. So as you can see, I did not panic sell today after one day of red, still holding all of my positions and all of my buying power as well. Now today, there was some decent deals in the market, but nothing that truly jumped out to me because stocks have ran so much in the last 2 weeks of time, they're away from a lot of the larger support areas that I'm looking to play. So I'm being very patient with my buying power. I still have a bunch of call options with a long duration of time on them, but for the wheel trades, I'm being a little bit more patient because when they come down into my levels, instead of doing weeklies on these favorable companies that I do like a lot, like Meta, like Google, like Amazon, right? I'll be looking to possibly do some longer dated put wheel positions. That being said, the only things that we open, we covered this entire list on the Friday, so I'm not going to go through everything, but I just want to show you that since the Friday video, I have not really taken off anything off the table except for 2 contracts of Microsoft today, which we sold at about $3.08. We got into these guys with an average cost of, you can see it right here, $199. It was actually $198 plus commission, $199. So we are up right now, roughly 50%. I closed these at 3.08, and that was, as a matter of fact, 55% gain. I had 5 contracts. I closed 2. It almost hit my target. My target on Microsoft was about 447, right? Or about 450. 450 psychological was TP number 1. Take profit number 2 for the rest is probably going to be 465, 470, which is the all-time highs. But now, seeing how the market reacted today, and possibly under the expectation that we may have more than 1 day's worth of downside into more daily consolidation, possibly even weekly consolidation on one of these days, I just wanted to take a little bit off the table. Closed 2 contracts, still have 3 remaining. So a majority of the position, right? In terms of the wheel trades, they're going quite well. MSTR today was down a lot of opportunity to take profit. We got 245 for these last week, and they're $1.20 remaining on the contracts. A lot of time decay on these. So if MSTR opens even slightly down tomorrow, flat or up, we're down here at the 255s, nowhere even close to being at risk of being assigned. The NVIDIAs, however, the 137s we do have, we got 78 cents. We're roughly down, we're underwater on these a little bit. We'll see if we get assigned. I would not mind being assigned on NVIDIA at 137, but I would definitely consider DCAing in the event we fall below 130. So I'm not too worried about that. The only other trades, guys, the only other trade that I opened today was SOXL. I went with a very tiny contract, $27 puts early this morning before the sell-off accelerated. And I got about 20 cents on these. So above 0.5%, decent trade for me, 27, decent margin of safety. If I get assigned, I've been playing SOXL down here for a while. If I get assigned 1 contract, only 1 at 27, no problem at all. The covered calls are very juicy, and I will probably be able to get out of that one fairly easily as well. And then we also have the Uber 66 puts for Friday. We'll see if we get assigned those. I like the level. My next DCA on Uber comes around the $60 mark or slightly under, 60, 58-ish. I like them around there. And UPS, the 126s, well, we wrote them for 74 cents, and now the UPS was up today. Now these are about, not quite 50% profitable just yet, but we have the 126s for Friday, and then we got a nice little pop today at about 128.53. So obviously a lot of time left on the week, but this trade has been performing nicely. The one before that, Uber, the chart I'll show you, I really want a DCA down here. Down here is the juicy area. So we'll see if we get assigned here or on the Friday session at 66, but I'm very happy with the positions I have, and I have a ton of buying power for the week. So if these declines do continue, you will see a lot more trades from me. Some that I like a lot, I'm keeping an eye on, ELF, Elf Beauty, Alibaba, other things like that, things that I gave in the top 5 options plays yesterday and the bonus plays. So if you want to know my plays, right, there's a lot in yesterday's video, that's for sure. So that's pretty much everything that I had for you guys today. Now, in the event, guys, that you also, in the event that you enjoyed this video, despite the slightly worse than expected sound quality and slightly worse than expected webcam, I know you can't see my beautiful face as well as normally, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, consider dropping a like on the channel, on the video. I'd really appreciate it for the growth of the channel. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're new as well. Would love to see you guys back here. Thank you so much for the 4K subscribers once again. Let's hit that next milestone of 5K, guys. You know, we've come a long way, and it's all thanks to you guys, and I thank each and every one of you guys. Love you guys. You guys always ask great questions, participate a lot on the channel, and I really appreciate it. And lastly, if you have any questions whatsoever, please always feel free to ask me down below in the comment section. I will be answering any and all questions over the course of tonight and into tomorrow as well. And in the event as well that you guys did want to join the private Discord as well, the link is always down below in the description. If you want to have access to all my trades in real time, not only the short put trades, but also the call option trades, the debit spread trades, and everything in between, the long-term portfolio trades, the trade ideas, the private morning live streams Monday through Friday for about an hour or two, depending on my time, and also chat with me all throughout the day and ask me your questions on your stocks, your options, and I will do my best to help you guys out as best as I can, as I always do. If you guys want access to that private Discord, the link is down below. So hopefully to see you in there. And in the event I don't, guys, well, I guess I'll see you back on the channel, right? So take care, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video again. And I will see you tomorrow at the classic home base setup. Looking forward to coming back home. And take care, guys. Have a good day of trading tomorrow. Do not get too greedy right now. Be patient. Let the market come to you. You guys know that. So have fun. Take care. Happy trading and peace.